Welcome back to another episode of Duel Alliance with myself, Alicia Solomon, and Megan Hines, where every week we discuss the challenge. We are back for episode 6 of season 40. We have been getting down to, relationships and how things have been cross playing from previous seasons. But this week, did you think it was going to change? We also got more of that again because, of course, it's the challenge. uh, Sprinkled in with Big Brother. So that is mainly a lot of the episode and more of bananas trying to run people's lives and then gaslighting about it. So same old challenge.
Yep. We start the episode off first off with Error One just down another man. With CT being gone, they still gained Tina. And half of their team is gone, with it just being Tina, Darrell, Derek, Rachel, and Brad. And at this point moving forward, it's going to volley back between Tina and Rachel to be targets. So that's going to be very interesting because this week we already have Rachel at a target for Era One with Brad. So how that's going to go going forward, if they can stand on the last leg, would be interesting. But with the targets, Jenny said that nobody's gonna stick out their neck for her, because she keeps being a scapegoat to be a target for Era 4, because Michelle and Olivia are in cahoots. Michelle don't want to be a target right now for some odd reason. Casey's just there, you know, just biding her time until it's time to actually move into a furniture bed and dip out. And it's just like a little bit of imploding with era 4, with like their relationships being within other eras, or people just not being ready to go into nation, or just being targets in general.
I mean, it's more of the same with Era 4 in terms of their relationships getting in the way of how they play the game. And they brought it up last week with the Vacation Alliance and how that's affected basically their game since they've been on the show. And it's more or less the same this week in terms of not interracial, interconnections, interracial too. But no, with connections between era 4 and era 3 and then also from the different shows. So I mean, we kind of expected it, and we'll get more into it, and how it affects this episode. But the relationships are always going to be an issue specifically for era 4 because that's their main thing. How they want to play the game is they want to be friends with everyone and protect their friends and skate. So yeah, same old.
Yeah, speaking of, because Era 4, we already been saying, is in cahoots with Era 3 because of the Vacation Alliance, and by proxy, they have other people in like Bananas and apparently Laurel, because those are Josh's people, and then Jordan by proxy because of Tori. But um Bananas is possibly going to hold the decision that Josh made from USA 2 over his head, which we saw it play out this week as well. And it just shows, like you said, relationships are very important to Era 4, and that can only get you so far. But if it works in the moment, it works. And Era 3 is also still rubbed off really badly about Jonna's indecision from last week and not wanting to be a target than like she initially said she would. And she's more worried about getting sent in because of like different variables. And she's just really in a weird spot about that.
Uh, with Jonna, I just feel like she continuation from last week. She had a lot of selfishness that she's played with in the seasons, and she kind of went to a backstory on why she's played that way. But to me, it doesn't bode well when, like we said, you have to have relationships for some of the younger cast to feel connected to you. And then she also felt entitled for Nehemiah not to say her name. And it's like that's not how this works. Like you were the only person on that team who wasn't a target as yet. and you also were supposed to nominate yourself and then backed out. So I just feel like John Age is running around feeling entitled, and it's not really like portraying her well for me this season. Like I'm not really feeling John A.
Yeah, because I can see how it's how she's like running around entitled. Because like, what do you expect with like this era, this game? The game's changed since she's last played an actual challenge season. Aside from All Stars, with All Stars is a different kind of setup with the people that you're dealing with, but dealing with the new people, especially people you really haven't played with, that you really have to like figure out those relationships, like you said, because her and Yamaya, they were cool, and she expected him to have like, oh, her back because his decision on All Stars led her to a win. That's not how this game works, especially in this new era. So it's very weird, but if she believes what she believes, that's on her. But it's gonna bite her in the ass. I'm sorry. And we get to the daily challenge, and obviously we get the target recap with Laurel and Bananas representing Era 2, Rachel and Brad representing Era 1, Cory and Jonna representing Era 3, and Josh and Jenny representing Era 4. And the group is playing a game called Cloud Catcher, where three players will race through a field to grab color coded balloons and then race them through a weird pergola with sharp things above it, and they have to get it through their station so that they connect them all the balloons together. So then they'll raise up the riddle that they have to solve and open up a chest. And the first team who were able to either solve the riddle with the most amount of balloons on their station in the least amount of time will win this daily. This is really a slow and steady wins the race kind of situation. Because even though you have to like worry about your time, you have to also just mainly worry about the balloons and making sure you have enough. Um, and Eric 2, they were really trying to be patient about it. Whereas Eric 3, because Jordan likes to do things very quick and fast, and not with much else thinking. Um, you want to do it that way, but that wouldn't work either.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting challenge because it literally is just trying to get the balloons not only under the pergola but also with the weather conditions and just how they were handling it. It was very sensitive. So seeing how easily some of the balloons were popping, it just made it more difficult for some of the teams. And then with Era One, like Johnny mentioned, they should be called Bad News Bears because that was just horrific to see how really remedial the fall was that Derek had and ended up breaking his leg or injuring his leg. Not sure what the status of that is, but Derek literally just did a quick, easy fall into the mudslide, not even overthinking it, and was screaming for dear life for the next 20 minutes of the episode, honestly, hopping around on one leg and was willing to commit to finish, which I commend him because he could have easily just given up. But even when he had the same balloon in his hand and Rachel and Brad wanted to take it away from him and tried to get underneath, he was like, "No, I'm gonna do it. I'm already on the ground. You know, I have some leverage here with moving these balloons. I'm gonna continue." And I'm gonna give Derek credit because he ended up finishing along with Rachel and Brad and the rest of that team. But that's also just another person down for them. And so I don't know where that leaves them in the scenario of really just not having enough bodies to work with. Um, and then you have Era 4, who honestly, they were working super slow, but even though it was a timed event, they already knew that like they had to just get the amount of balloons that they needed to. So that's what they did. Era 3, it was just Jordan yelling, like Jordan just screaming at Jonna, Jordan screaming just in general. And I thought it was just funny how Jordan started screaming at Jonna to do this and to do that. And then all of a sudden, as soon as he made two moves, his balloon started popping. Like it was just funny to see how Jordan was trying to take over and couldn't even get things done himself. But for the most part, interesting challenge, but the communication lacked. I think Kara and uh, Laurel was the biggest thing because after last week, before we even start, these two was like going at it already. Laurel's like, yeah, um, I forget what happened and da 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 da. And Kara's like, yeah, that's cute. And low key, I kind of want to throw the challenge, but I'm not because I'm a better woman than she is. And it's like, whoa, Laurel's kind of like, you know what? She's got it. You got it, sis. Don't worry about it. You got it. She had to eat that. And so I was kind of here for that little petty back and forth from Kara and Laurel. But they worked together really well. Like Laura was trying to help Kara and vice versa. Like Kara was just like, listen, I'm the bigger woman anyway. I don't have to stoop to Laurel's level. So interesting dynamics in all eras of challenges, to be honest.
Yeah, because even like when Cara and Ryan were the ones that were under the pergola, she's like, me and Ryan don't mess with this lady, but in this game, because we are a team, we're gonna work as a team together, and that's all you can ask for. Not anything that's petty or just childish. Because at the end of the day, y'all want to win, but at the end of this episode, at the end of the challenge, they didn't win, even though they were neck and neck with Era 4 and 3. It was like them three really like just kicking it, trying to get it done, while Era 1 was just on his last leg. Um, they were all within relative amount, but I really thought it was really between Eras 2 and 3. But in the end, Slow and Steady won the race. Because everybody finished their riddles within a good amount of time. Like Era 3 finished theirs first, then Era 2, then Era 4. No, I'm tripping. Um, no, yeah. Era 4 finished third. And then Era 1 finally finished it because everybody was like, oh, what is it? Someone said, Johnny said pasta after 4-letter word. And I'm like, that is not it. Like, you're dumb. Some people thought Johnny thought it was a baby. And I was like, that doesn't work either. But I get where you're trying to go in, but they don't got red tips on their hands. That don't work. And then as like everyone figured out, oh, it's fire, or like because everybody's in a close proximity and like, oh, it's fire, it took Era 1 longer to figure out, oh, wait, fire. Darrell's like, oh, it's fire. And they got it done last. But like I said, Stowe and Teddy won the race. Initially, I would have thought that Era 3 got the win, but they didn't. It was actually Era 4. And that means that Jenny and Josh are safe, which good for them. The decision making between both of them, I have my expectations at a 0 because I knew what I was about to get with Josh. And now we have Rachel and Brad going to elimination, and Laurel and Bananas and Cory and Jonna have to plead their cases to Jenny and Josh. But I really just knew this is very straightforward that they were not going to say Bananas' name because Josh is so spooked from USA 2. And Era 4 had the group meeting, and Josh and Jenny wanted to give them the floor to talk, like, oh, what's the best route for us to do? And Olivia said that she would have rather they picked Laurel and Bananas, get a strong team on Era 2 out. And Colin said, why would we go back on our word with Era 3 about the decision? Because my thought was like, oh, you will kind of go back on it because the people that are not on Era 3, that are on Era 3, that are in danger, are not part of your agreement. Well, not a part of the Nation Alliance group's agreement on both teams. You have no thoughts? And We go to the chamber, and Brad and Rachel, they said they didn't really care about who they wanted to go against. Or like, I don't really like to do that, but it just don't matter who we go against. And Cory stated that though Josh and Jenny have relationships with both with actually bananas, he was like thinking of Eric 3 would be best. But Jenny don't really got ties with Cory, no ties of Eric 3 like that. The only person that does is Josh, but it's like, oh, who we actually want to like. Cory hasn't done wrong on Josh's part, but Josh has bananas just right there. Like, I don't want to mess that up either.
I mean, that's, I guess, the thing with me with Josh and Banana's situation is that I understand why he felt so caught up in having to not choose Bananas again, because I think in the situation on USA, it was a little bit more of a gut punch that he chose Bananas, because we all know how Josh likes to have that kind of, I guess, acceptance from Bananas. And so once he threw him in, Bananas was kind of like, oh, okay, like, you serious. But I think Josh was just trying to make it up. And I think that's just hard to do in a game like this, where we're talking about relationships, yes, and people being friends outside of this. But if that's your biggest threat, like, why wouldn't you just say, you know what, I understand I did this to you before and I'm gonna have to do it to you again, rather than you trying to chalk it up and just appease him essentially and make it easier for his ride. Because at the end of the day, if it was between Bananas and Josh, I think everyone's going to choose Bananas. Like, no one's going to accept Josh to expect, excuse me, Josh to win. So it's kind of like, why wouldn't you just bet on yourself and just pick Bananas? And Michelle even said it on the playback, like, in retrospect, when you think about your game, you're going to have to think about whether Josh is in the losing seat and then Bananas is in the winning seat again. And now you just messed up your game for a quote unquote relationships that I'm pretty sure that Bananas can give two shits about. Like, it's just to appease him. So why is Josh so like brokenhearted and crying about it? I have no freaking idea. I understand Jenny's point of view, because Jenny is cool with Bananas and that's the person she's played games with. So I get that for her. But for Josh, it was kind of like, mm, I can't really, I don't know. I can't really see it. And this is the same Josh who earlier didn't want to nominate himself because he was scared of CT. Like, you just playing around at this point. Like, I can't really, I don't even know what Josh is doing. Like I say every week, Josh is just there to be there. But this week it's just like, whatever, dude. And then with Cory, like, Cory had his back in that throwback scene that we saw with Double Agents. And Cory's just trying to hold on. Cory and them damn fake Cartier glasses is holding on for dear life, and that's all Cory can do at this point. Because what else does he really have? Like, it's just Cory against the world, honestly.
Yeah, I will give Casey her sevens, because she kind of clocks that Josh has so many IOUs that he can't fix all of those. Like, you can't. This is not what you do on a challenge season. You cannot do all your IOUs on the season with people when it doesn't help you win the game. Like, you trying to not say Banana's name is not going to help you in the long run because you're not on the top of his pecking order. You're just not. You're just going to be a number for him, and that's it. But I had to give Casey her sevens for that because I had to agree because she was being the voice of reason that Josh clearly don't want to hear. Um, and when Josh told Cory and Jonna that they were the pick, Cory's like, "Hey, I hear you. Just know you next. You got you target the next chance I get." But then I forget. I don't think that he remembered that Josh and Jenny couldn't even be targets the following week because they won. But I get he was like really, really. I felt him because he was on this ready on guard to get his leg back on Josh. Because like, hey, I had done nothing wrong to you, and you do this, we good. I got you next time. And also Bananas getting in Michelle and Devin's business. It was like I was very confused, but it's classic Bananas trying to instigate in business that don't belong to him, because Devin and Michelle mind their business, and Bananas is saying that Devin is using Michelle as a number for his game when them two actually like each other. And I'm mad. I'm actually on Devin's side in this, because I don't get the obsession. I get Devin sometimes have obsession with Bananas, but Bananas in this case has an obsession with Devin, because why are you going after that man over an interpersonal relationship that he got going on?
I mean, I'm kind of 50-50 because I can see why Bananas would feel like Devin is using Michelle. However, I also feel like Bananas is just trying to manipulate the relationship with Michelle because of whatever relationship that he has with Michelle outside of the game. Like, I guess it's cool or close in a sense because she was, taking his word up for what he was saying to her. So I guess Michelle running back to Devin is probably where I'm like I get her telling her man if that's really her man type vibes, but you already knew where it was gonna go when you told Devin. If Devin was a real one, and for all Devin's nonsense, he seems like it because he was just like, "What do you mean? Like this man is telling you not to be cool with me because of the game?" Like, so I guess Devin reacted appropriately, but I'm kind of 50-50. Like I feel like Bananas and Devin is BSing, but also it's Michelle. Like, I really don't like Michelle. So I get Bananas looking out for her and being like, yeah, girl, like don't do another reality TV relationship. Solid advice. Go with that. But also it's like the running back to Devin and telling him, yeah, you knew what that was gonna do. And not to say that she shouldn't have, but
Mm-hmm.
like you kind of knew what you was doing with that one. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
I pray that advice is the right message, wrong messenger, because Bananas has a history on this show and just in general with people. So, right message, wrong messenger, and he's trying to use it to his advantage to try and get Devin out. And that was just my stance on it too. So I'm like, you said it. He said it because Olivia was in the room. That's Michelle's bestie of sorts, and she was there. She said you said it, but he was not owning up to it because it's Devin. He's not going to like say, yeah, I said it. Like, no, I'm not going to say I said it. And that's the way we got that little situation. And then we go to the arena, and obviously Josh and Jenny chose Cory and Jonna, and they're playing to the point against Brad and Rachel, where players must throw balls on the spikes, and the first person to do so will win. This is a very straightforward game. It's basically dodgeball with spikes. Um, Granted, Brad was like, "This is not dodgeball. It's not the same game." It essentially kind of is, but just with spikes in the mix. And at one point, players can play defense, not just play offense. And in both heats, you saw that happen once people who were ahead, they're like, hey, I'm going to switch up and go on defense. So with Cory and Brad, everybody was just yelling at them because the form at first form and the way that they were just going ham throwing the balls was a little bit too much. And obviously, Brad was not doing the best with that because that man just sees red when things are there. So he couldn't really get going as well because he was just chucking them. But Cory was using chest passes in his strategy. He was channeling his little basketball self, and that had him a good edge on Brad.
Yeah, definitely straightforward of a challenge. I thought it was funny at certain points just to see how both of them were playing, but I think when Cory got the head start and everyone was yelling, it was kind of like on Brad to figure out like how to get this done and instead of playing offense, instead of yeah, playing offense, like he had to start playing defense and vice versa. I just thought it was an interesting game to watch, and really just gave it up to chance. And that's, I mean, I would prefer that than rather than uh like a physical game, just me personally. But um yeah, Brad just got the short end of the stick. What else is new with Brad? Like, I don't know what other stick he does get with the short one. Like, that's just my man's MO at this point, coming back on this show. Like, that's the cards he was dealt with. So shout out to Cory and them Detroit buffs he was wearing. And we gonna see what Cory got coming up, because I feel like Cory gonna be on some BS after winning. Not to say that he didn't deserve to win or whatever the case may be, but I already see it with Cory, bro.
Yeah, no, he is. He definitely is. It's gonna be a lot of misplaced anger and aggression, and that's gonna bite him in the butt. On Rachel and Jonna's side, Rachel was off to a hot start. At one point, it was 5-1, and then Jonna started getting a rhythm, but it was really all Rachel um throwing the balls at the spikes. The way that Jonna was throwing it too, it was a mix of, I want to say, the underhand free throw, but then just tugging the ball. Like, she really just like was committing to that overhead throw, and I'm like, man, that's that face when she did it. The camera angles on her face when she was throwing the ball was just getting me. But the way her form was, I'm like, man, if it's working, sure, but it wasn't working. So she could have switched it up a bit.
Yeah, I feel like also, again, this is left up to chance. Like, she could have switched up her format or technique, but honestly, like, it was just chance with Jonna. And I feel like, again, going against Rachel, who is the better athlete in every way, shape, or form, I kind of was like, you know what, Jonna, she could get lucky. Like, that's why I like the chance, because I'm like, bro, you could just get lucky, sis, and see what happens. But Rachel was on one. Like, Rachel started going at it, and then once Rachel started pulling out the Matumbo moves, I was like, yeah, it's over for Jonna, honestly. Like, Jonna got a couple of chucks, but she really started playing on her shit. And also, when TJ was like, yeah, Rachel, like LeBron, I'm like, bro, wrap this up immediately, actually. Wrap this up immediately, because there's no way we call it Rachel LeBron out here. That's crazy. But it's kind of true, because like 20 years in the game, you know what I mean? But Rachel took some time off. LeBron hasn't. So that's the only difference. But I just thought it was funny that TJ was just commentating in the corner, as he usually does, just with the side comments. But it definitely gave like LeBron in Miami against OKC or something like that.
It was. I think the imagery that popped in my head was LeBron's block on Iggy in the finals. That's what it was giving a little bit, like that imagery of like, you know, she wasn't behind, but like just snatching it out. I really, my comparison in my notes are what was like volleyball, because she was really like getting up there and smacking it back down. Um, but I don't know. Rachel went on defense and really solidified her win of 5-3. But it's also funny too because Jordan was also yelling at Jonna again because Jonna could not get it going after 3 nails. But I'm like, what else could she do? You're not down there. Like, Jonna was like, I'm locked in. I'm not paying attention. I'm to what you're saying. I'm trying to do what I can do. And that means just yelling at her. I'm like, shut up. Like she said earlier in the episode in her special to Jordan, shut up. But that didn't help her either. And Rachel got the win. And officially, Era 1 is just Team Rope Rules.
Like we knew it was gonna be, but I didn't expect it to be that damn soon. Like, that team is really on the edge of just like, they out of here. Like, get these old people out of here in the retirement home immediately. I thought it was funny that Darrell's commentary was like, I'll do anything for this team. And then he was like, nah, not really. I won't do anything. And then next week's episode is legit him having to go on a heights mission. Like, bro, you couldn't write it up any better. I just felt so bad when I saw that preview. I was like, bro, they just kicking the rose back in. It's already a bad back. They just kicking it
Yeah.
now. Now y'all really playing around with my man's. Like, come on, we really
Cause
got to
he was
do
like,
this.
I would jump out of a plane for the to help us out. And he's like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, I would, because we got to stay afloat. But it's like, bro, we know you don't like heights. Calm down. Choose something else. But now that Cory and Rachel are still in the game, they did choose their targets, and obviously for Era One, Tina. And then Darrell also went ahead and said it, he was his turn. For the Era 2, Nehemiah and Aviv, who I keep forgetting is still there. Like, she's just there amongst the chaos of Era 2. And it was funny too with the guy pick, because Rachel is really cool with Ryan and Derek, and one of them said Rachel saved the gays. So Nehemiah had to be the one to be the target for Era 2. And Era 3 is Naya and Jordan. And then Era 4, Kylan and Michelle, because Michelle finally volunteered herself, because she, in her mind, is like, oh, I have connections through the eras are on targets. And the group of ladies that is in this lineup, whoever I go against, if I have to, will work in my favor. So this was an easy moment for Michelle to be a target going into next week.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Michelle for putting herself out there.
Yeah, because Casey won't do it at this point in the game either. I was like, what? I was kind of figured, like, why is it on Michelle to volunteer herself? But she was going to do it at one point. Casey was going to do it at one point, because everybody got to get in and be a target at some point. I feel like, because you can't just keep having it as most one person being a scapegoat, like it be a Jenny. But with that, we're gonna get into some of the tweets from this episode. The first one, Michelle got a lot to say for someone who didn't step up as captain.
Isn't that always the case with her? What else
Yes.
is new with her?
Next one is Casey roasting Jenny for being boring and only talking about snacks and working out. Girl, you've done 5 seasons and this is your first confessional that isn't you just describing the rules of the daily challenge.
Damn, clock it. Because I didn't even think about that. Because I wasn't even listening to what Shorty was really saying. So that's crazy.
And I barely be forgetting that lady is still there. That's vibing. Next tweet. Cory's family been waiting on daddy to bring home $1 million for damn near 15 years now. Because 3 girls at this point.
Hilarious. That's hilarious because Cory always going. I forgot he had 3 kids now, so it's literally so funny seeing how like they're all. The picture comes up and Cory's like, "I'm doing this for y'all," and it's just like every time he says "y'all," it's more than like, bro, you slow down, slow down. Let's win the money first. You like you said, you got bronze and silver. At least get to the finish line, bro, before you keep popping them out.
Yep. And last tweet, it's the fact that even Laurel knows they should be going in as a better game move, but these losers want to be on this man's Christmas list so damn bad.
Oh, Christmas, smush.
Because honestly, this is not for the love of bananas. It really isn't. But go ahead, y'all.
Never was, and it never will be. Yeah, we cool off that and give you no more shine here. Um, Wrapping it up. Thank you guys so much for listening this week. We'll be back next week to discuss more of the challenge. If you would like to follow us on Twitter, you can at Doodle Lines Pod. You can follow us individually at Meg Hines and Ace_S5. And also, if you are listening to this podcast, you can watch us on YouTube at Duel Lines Podcast. Had some technical difficulties today, so please bear with us. But thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back next week to discuss more of the challenge. See y'all. Peace out.